Welcome to Rocks Talks. Hope you guys are doing well today. It is the 15th of February. Today we're going to talk about owning a home and just some of the things you do you didn't realize you have to do until you have to do them. We're going to talk a little bit about Valentine's Day. I'll give you a recap. And then really what we're going to talk about is Love is Blind. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about that at the end, because if you're someone who's like, wait, Roxanne, I'm watching it, please don't spoil it for me. I'll give you the, all right, here it comes, and you can go. But if you are like, I don't care if I'm spoiled, but I do want to know what people are talking about, you can stay around and stick around. Okay, sound good? Okay, good. Awesome. So I hope you had a good Valentine's Day and that there was some love in the air in some way for something. Scott actually was out of the house completely yesterday. So I had like this day of my own. And I was like, okay, I made a list of like 20 things I wanted to get done. I did not get 20 things done. I did get 11 things done though. So I was really proud of myself. I'm like, hey, I got 11. And when he got home, I was like, okay, I can stop now and I'll do the rest later. So one of the things that I did that, everything takes longer than you think it's going to. And I knew that that was the case. So I didn't expect to get everything done. But one of the things that I bumped up in priority that I wouldn't have was a result of owning a home now. We have weeds. When we were gone in Boston, it rained here in Arizona, and our front yard, like when we came home, weeds. Scott had pulled the weeds a few weeks ago. Looked beautiful. But literally when we came home, actually right when we left, like we saw them coming up and it's just, so we've been talking to like a gardener to talk to them about like spraying and whatnot. And we want to do some things to the yard in general. We've been having this conversation and we actually spoke to one, and then we heard my dad was like, hey, this one is better. Go this way. So we've been literally texting back and forth with him. Lo and behold, on Monday, we get an email from the Homeowners Association saying that we were in violation. It was a warning because of the weeds. And they literally take a picture of your front yard. Like they take a picture of proof. I'm like, oh my gosh, which kind of feels intrusive. Like you've been driving by taking pictures of my house. So it said like, please fix this in a timely manner. We have no idea what a timely manner means. We do have like a gardener coming tomorrow to meet with us on Saturday. So all those things. But in the meantime, I'm like, I feel like we need to do something. So I thought I'm going to go do the weeds because Scott did it last time and his back hurt literally for a week, which was not good because we had to fly then. And it was just, a whole thing. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. It sucked. It took hours. We don't have a huge house. It took over 2 hours. What was funny is he was watching me from where he was because he saw like our little alarm camera go off, like someone is lurking. So he starts talking to me through the camera. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. So anyway, he says it took me like an hour and a half. I'm telling you, I think it took 3 hours. So that kind of derailed most of my day in a way. But I'm glad I did it. I didn't finish them all. I got to a point where it's like, it's noon. I've been doing this now I really think it was a 3-hour tour. I'm like, I am done. And it was funny because I was like, I'm done. I'm out of here talking to the camera. I'm sure people will look at me like, what is she doing? But it felt good to do some of it and to do most of it. It looks good if you drive by. But when I realized last night, because when I came home, I was like, do you want me to make food? Do you just want me to go get a pizza? I was like, let's just get a pizza. I'm like, great. Because I didn't want to cook. So I went to go, I'm like, I will pick up the pizza. We had like from my favorite from my childhood. I think I told you about it, or on Valley Rocks and on at Rocks Talks. I did a video on this place called Barrels when I grew up. Like that was our high school place. And now they've blown up. It's supposed to have like one location. They have like 50. Anyway, they sent us a thing saying, welcome to the neighborhood. You get a free pizza. And he kept it. And so I'm like, let's use this. So anyhow, we got that and some other things at the restaurant. And as I was driving to pick them up, I just looked out so now I'm like HOA looking at the different yards. There were so many weeds. And these are people who know better because we've been warned, like we were warned, hey, they're basically some weeds. So I'm assuming they all got a warning. So I'm like, okay, we're not the only ones. But to do it right after it rains, that's just not even nice. I'm just saying. Anyhow, it's all good. We will get our weed situation under control. Things you don't worry about when you're renting. We didn't have weeds. It wasn't a thing, whatever. We didn't have a place to have weeds. But that was a lot of my day. I did get some other things done. The Rocks Talks newsletter will come out today is the goal. I really worked on a part of it about some recommendations for some books, and I'm excited when you get to read. I'll tell you about it tomorrow about why it's so special. But it's going to give you like if you're a book reader, books you want to make sure you're reading right now or books to get. So anyhow, that will come out tomorrow. No, today. It'll come out today. I just need to finish the rest of it and send it out today. So I'm excited about that. So you look in your mailbox today. You should see another newsletter from moi, Rocks Talks. I'm going live today with a good friend, Manissa Konecki. They and I are going live on TikTok for the first time. So we always, when things aren't wild and we don't have major life changes that are thrown at us, like we have over the last few weeks, we always meet once a week. And I'm really excited to meet with her. And then I'm like, you want to go live with me? So we're not even sure what we're going to talk about yet. We're going to talk about something. It's going to be great. So look at it. If you're listening to this, I'm going to get this up while she and I are doing just our little like catch up. So probably around 7-ish Mountain Time. We should be live on TikTok. If you're following me at, I think it's Rocks Talks Show on TikTok, or click in this link. You'll be able to see it. Also, by the way, I got every episode up except for the one today is up now on Spotify, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to podcasts. So it is now all live. I worked on that yesterday because I had the house. Baylor and I just were chilling. I got to do all these things. It's funny because I'm like, Baylor, you have like 2 or 3 more days, and then your life is not your own because Maisie's coming and she's going to be bugging you. Just like I had the day for you. Okay, we're going to talk about Love is Blind. We need to talk about Love is Blind. It's the elephant in the room. If you do not want to hear, if you're planning on watching, the first 6 episodes dropped last night. Scott and I watched 1 together. No, we watched 1.5, 2 together. He fell asleep. I stayed up and binged all of them. I'll watch them again with him, but I need to know what's going on. I don't want to be spoiled online and whatnot. I want to be a part of the discussion. So in 5, in 4, in 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do it. All right. So I was wrong. I don't know why I kept on saying they're in Atlanta. Season 1 was in Atlanta. I know better. I know they weren't in Atlanta, but I kept saying it, so I apologize. They're in North Carolina. Charlotte is where this one is going, which is supposed to be like up and coming. Lots of people are moving there, so I can see why they decided to go there. Probably had a lot of young ones. But everyone's in there somewhere between, I think it was like 24 of ages I saw, all the way to, I think I saw 36. I liked the crew. By the way, the Lachey's looked phenomenal. Specifically, Vanessa looked phenomenal in this episode. They're not in there much, but they are in this drop. The drop takes you from meeting them, getting into the pods, starting to have conversations, and then all the way to, they go to the Dominican Republic this time instead of going to Mexico. All the way through part of that. Here's what you need to know. There's something about Megan Fox that I guess elicits these like thoughts in guys' heads that make them so happy. Remember, this show is about not being able to see each other through, and it's not about physical appearance, and yet it kept coming up in different ways. Megan Fox. One girl said, hey, what is her celebrity? She's a stewardess. Her name is, or flight attendant, excuse me. Her name is Chelsea, and she found herself in a love triangle that you will hear about with Jimmy and Trevor. Trevor, salt of the earth, big like meathead kind of guy who with a mullet who always gets like he's just, people just assume things about me. I want to do this process, and he's sweet, and he was all in on her. And then this guy Jimmy, who was with Chelsea and with Jessica. We'll get to Jessica in a second. Okay, so here's the deal. So as they're hanging, right, Chelsea says to Jimmy, who's your celebrity look-alike? Okay, first of all, that right there, I'm just like, who's your celebrity look-alike? Do anyone say you look like someone? I'm like, what are you doing? And then when she said, I have one, and he said, who? She cannot wait to tell him. The people say all the time, she's like, I don't think I look like her, but I get it all the time. Okay, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Megan Fox. And his eyes light up. This is the second season. There was a season 2 when they were in Seattle where the Megan Fox thing comes up. Like, I guess Megan Fox is the bastion for beauty. And he was like, oh. She's like, no, I don't really think I look like her, but just because I have blue eyes and brown hair. Again, not supposed to be talking about looks. There was another couple where the guy was like, I know he's black, she's white, and they could both tell that from talking to each other. Sometimes you can, but he's like, I think she's blonde. I've never dated. Oh, we've talked a little about race. So they let each other know, which I think you should do in that situation, because that could be a little uncomfortable. That's like a guest who's coming to dinner moment, a la Sidney Poitier, Audrey Hepburn, and Spencer Tracy. But although I will say, Cameron and Lauren said they never talked about race at all. He knew, though. I know he knew. Anyway, I just know he knew. And she knew. So here's Megan Fox. She's like, oh, just because of the brown hair and blue eyes. Okay. So he ends up taking a turn and going for her. The other person Jimmy was interested in was this woman named Jessica. She has a daughter. She's 28. She's a 10-year-old daughter. And then you find out later on as well, too, both of her parents were drug addicts. Both of them ended up in jail at different times. One of them committed suicide. So it's really sad. And then she ended up getting adopted by a foster parent. She was in foster in and out as well, too. But the father of the child the little girl's name is Autumn. The father of the child is delightful, she said, and all these things. And he acted like it was fine. All those things were fine. And he kept dating her. But you could tell that he had a problem with the fact that she had a daughter. He should have let her go a long time ago, but he didn't. So when she finally found out, and she found out because she gives him this letter, like a letter to my future husband she wrote a few years ago, and he couldn't like give her any good affirmations back. And she's like, this is weird. So they have a little bit of a tension conversation. Then he goes and he meets Chelsea. And when he meets Chelsea, oops, my phone rang. I hope that didn't mess anything up. When he meets Chelsea, he tells her he loves her. He hasn't told anyone he loves her yet. And because the women are all together, word gets out and Jess finds out. But Jess decides to go ahead and stick it out so she can like read him for filth. Look that one up. She just gave him the riot act, is what they'd say back in the day. And I'm not mad at her. She did well. So anyway, that was the big story. The other big story was this guy named Matthew, who was truly socially awkward. It was very bizarre. And he was with he's from a place of 600 people. One of the women he's talking to, Amber, he's white, she's black. And I don't think he knew. So that Scott's like, if this becomes a storyline and it's an issue, he's going to be mad. He's telling all these things about how he wants to ask her father for her hand in marriage. He wants to run away with her. She's the one. And she goes inside and another girl is telling her the same story that he's told her. What? He totally lied. When he gets kind of called out on it, he deflects. And the girl that he's been talking to as well, too, which Love is Blind never showed us this conversation, which is very odd. Amber decides to leave when she finds out this goes down. When he finds out she leaves, it's a weird conversation between Matthew and the black woman's name is A.D. And they have a weird conversation. And then based on that weird conversation, he's like, I'm going to go. I can't give you what I want. And then as he's leaving, he says, like he's saying goodbye to the guy, not really saying goodbye to the guys, but he's walking. He's like, I'm going to go get Amber. What? It's the weirdest thing. There's a story behind there and I'm going to find it out. I'm going to ferret it out. All in all, the guys that got chosen that are now engaged, on the mature side, most of the girls are mature. Chelsea gets on my nerves because she is not your typical, she's a normal sized woman and she has issues with it. So even though her fiance, Jimmy, is saying, I love you and you're beautiful, although he did say, she said she looked like Megan Fox and she lied. He told us that, not everyone else, which makes you think, is that why he chose her? Even though, and when he sees the girl he didn't pick, Jess, she is a bombshell. It's going to be interesting because unfortunately I think looks do matter for some people, but she's so insecure that I'm over her. I am so over her. She's gotten so insecure and has picked fights with him and always is like, am I pretty? Do you like me? Are you in love me? Are you sure you're okay with me? It's like, enough already. Like he can't, and she picked a fight with him in the Dominican Republic that made me want to scream. I literally wanted to scream at her. She was like, but you're not, do you hear my feelings? Like, yes, but I'm telling you, I love you. And I felt they hang out with everyone. And she was upset because she didn't feel like he gave her enough affection. He literally was walking around talking about how great she was to everyone. And she put him in some weird situations that weren't cool, which I will tell you about next time. But for now, I think you know enough to know what is going on. You need to know AD. People love AD. She's great. You need to know Chelsea and her insecurity, Jimmy, and then of course Jess, and then the weird guy Matthew. That's what everyone's gonna be talking about, because people are gonna be like still working through the 6 episodes. New episodes drop next week. I'll give you another tidbit tomorrow. And we're countdown 2 days until Maisie. Okay, must go. Manissa's waiting for me. I will see you live on TikTok, or I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for your comments. I appreciate you. Tammy, thanks for saying look good in red. And I'm bummed that sweatshirt was out in your size. So if you are looking for the sweatshirt, click through the links, because I guess it's going. All right, take care, everyone. Go be great.